It's faded, baby.
Perfect.
Welcome to Faded Music and Player. I'm Sharon, and we have here right now Selecta Charts. So this is going to be very simple. I just answer you a few questions. Of course, how you came up with the name Selecta Charts, because
Sure.
I get the charts part, but how
Yeah, so I'm Paul Husbands. I started Selecta Charts actually started in school.
okay,
This is like 2011, 12.
right,
I was doing my degree in graphic design. At the time, it was my associate and my bachelor's. We got the opportunity to devote like an entire semester to one project. Anybody doing a degree in creative arts would know that was an exciting time. Like, now you could focus on one or two particular things.
right,
So at that point in time, this group called the Remix Project from Canada, they came down to Barbados and were part of this program the NCF put on. So the NCF invites other persons that were interested into the creative arts to come down to Central Bank
right.
and have a meeting with the Remix Project. And a guy named Gavin Shepard was the main guy. He's from Canada. And then another guy there was a guy named Randall Thorne, who's actually a Bajan living in Canada. He's a videographer.
Okay.
And in the discussion that we were having, Gavin pointed out quickly that, he was surprised that the local music industry is seasonal. Like, we push our music hard during the summer, during Kapoga. Then the rest of the year, there's no big push anymore. So in his mind, that was confusing.
Right.
Because in Canada, they push their music all year round. And of course, in that project, the team with Remix Project, they work with kids that, I won't say have been abandoned, but may have been left on the wayside.
Right.
So they encourage them to get back on track with music. So they work with artists like Justin Bieber, Drake's producer 40,
Oh, nice.
with some big names. So it was a pretty successful group. So when they came down here, they were shocked. So when they had the opportunity to work on my project, I was like, you know what? That whole conversation resonated with me. So I'm gonna do something that's centered around music, particularly local music and pushing music. Around this time, social media was getting big.
Right.
So people were on Facebook already, but Twitter was just the new thing, and like hardly anybody was on Twitter. But I could see the potential. Like, this is so innovative. Like people seeing updates in real time around the world, different countries, and it was like, you know what? Why don't we do a music related platform that's kind of like that, kind of like Facebook, kind of like Twitter, but pushing local music. So that's where the idea came from. But I wanted a cool spin on the name, right?
Right.
So it immediately hit me, Selecta, because that's the term that DJs use in
Okay.
Jamaica.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah, so that's where it originated from.
Okay, I got you.
But I wanted to spin it in, it's even written the way it's spelled, pronounced.
Right.
So it's not Selector, it's Selecta, because we actually say Selecta. And then charts is the fact that I wanted it to be chart-based,
Chart-based, right.
because we didn't have many charts back then, locally, that would represent like the island. So that was the original concept for the name.
Has this been done or tried before? Because I feel like it definitely, like, not taken away from you. I just think that somebody might have tried to do that before. So what challenges that you would have come up against or overcome that I believe others would not have been able to conquer?
Well, I was talking to Damien earlier about this,
Right.
and back then Baden 2 was huge.
Yeah.
Like, every summer they would have like Kapoga songs,
Yes, I remember
Kapoga
that.
music, and that was an exciting time. And people would actually go to Baden 2
just
instead
to
of
see.
YouTube or any other platform. So obviously that was a big inspiration too.
Right.
So big up Baden 2 for being a pioneer in that area. But they focused mainly on soca music.
Right.
But my vision was all genres.
All
of
genres,
music.
right.
And I wanted them to go beyond Barbados. That was the long-term goal, to go beyond Barbados. But it's a funny story that ended up making me have to push it as a Caribbean platform from day one. But in terms of challenges, I would say the hardest challenge is the technical aspect,
Right.
because I'm like inspired by Twitter, Facebook, and these are like one of the most advanced platforms in the world. Like just the fact that you could tweet something in one place and then another part of the world, you could get the update in less than a second.
Right.
That kind of technology requires advanced servers, really good coding, optimization, hundreds of dollars in investment in just the storage. In fact, Facebook and Twitter would be hundreds of thousands. So how do you do something like that on a smaller scale? But luckily I was able to find local developers. I worked with Javon and Rashid, big up two of them. They were the two developers that launched the original platform of Selecta Charts. But even then, the idea was so ambitious. If only you would see the meetings I had with them. Like, we had to cut so much just to launch.
Right.
And we finally launched that in 2017. We thought it would take a few months. It took a year. But it was so incredible when Javon Press published. And the site went live. And then start seeing reviews going up on Google. People started going on the site. And then people sending me messages on Instagram saying that on the site and uploading the music. It was such an exciting time. It was like all the year of development and all the struggle was worth it when artists could see their music online next to other artists. So that was really exciting. But the technical part of it was really hard. We had to cut a lot.
So how do you get around? Because of course with music, as you mentioned, the technical aspect. So like there's copyright, there's then royalties. Of course, since you're doing it Caribbean based, how then would getting contracts signed from people in other countries, as well as even getting them to get their royalties if there are, even getting them to do what they're supposed to do, because of course I believe in dealing with a number of artists. You tell artists to do certain things and they do the opposite, or they have an ego, so it's like, right, why should I am whatever the case, whoever artist or whatever the case would be. So how did you get around those challenges?
Man, that was a whole process in itself. But it was worth it. First I had to do research in terms of how we would get a license for this music.
Right.
Because keep in mind, the original vision, Barbados, and it's at some point get Caribbean. At some point. But that get pushed much earlier than it thought. So did my research, and COSCAT is the local foundation that provides the royalties for local artists.
Right.
And they actually provide royalties for artists outside of Barbados as well.
Okay.
Regional artists as well. So I met with them. Big up Erica Smith. But our initial relationship was quite the struggle, because it's me coming in saying, okay, I want to do this website where people can listen to music online for free. And they're like streaming. So it was like trying to explain to them how I thought things would be, my vision for it,
right,
and comparing it to YouTube or other platforms. But back then, this was like 2 years before we launched, so this is like 2015. So keep in mind, back then CDs were still the main earner of income for artists. So to tell people that I believe the future is online streaming. It sounded crazy back then. It sounded crazy. So, but I really believed in it. So I pushed, and eventually we were able to work out a contract similar to radio. So artists were compensated based on plays and percentages. It's complicated, but I leave COSCAT to do it. All we have to do is provide them the data,
the information, right,
and pay the license fee, right. I actually have to get back to them because COVID slowed down so much.
Okay.
I actually gotta get back to them. So I will get back to you guys, probably very soon. But we finally worked it out, and we've been going. We developed a good relationship with COSCAT, so I'm really grateful for what they do, because they're the only organization locally that does it. So they have a big task. I know a lot of weight on their shoulders because artists complain, they don't get enough. But that's because
Don't
or
get
radio.
enough royalties.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's because they don't understand how it really works.
Mm.
Like they think, oh, I heard my song on the radio, so I should be loaded.
Right.
But it is much more granular and smaller than that, and it's based more on quantity
Right.
than just hearing it here and there.
I feel like no, people should definitely know. And this is just me being ignorant, but I think like artists, I always believe this: if you want to be an artist, you then should study the industry. So certain things in terms, as you mentioned, about royalties and probably contracts and different stuff. Like it's interesting how a lot of artists never study anything like that. Never look to understand the whole business of things.
But
right?
That's why so many artists get taken advantage of. Even the big artists that we grow up watching internationally, the big international artists. Even regionally, like Spice, or these big artists you watch growing up. It was just a few months ago, Spice released her first album, right?
Right.
And it was a big controversy with VP Records because VP wouldn't let her release her album. And then it came out that Spice had to get all these lawyers involved, get Shaggy involved. But it turns out that the original deal that Spice signed when she was young and new was a really bad deal.
Right.
But obviously, when you're young, you're just excited to sign a record deal and get on TV and get on the radio. So a lot of artists come in with all the talent in the world, all the vision, because Spice is a legend, still killing it. But all the talent in the world would not bring the money if you don't understand the business. And sadly, a lot of our favorite artists growing up got royally screwed, not understanding the industry.
So see, like I think that's another problem that I find, especially here, is you have a number of artists, big artists, soca, some of them who will be doing dancehall, etc., etc. And I find like a lot of them never pass on certain information that they might have learned to others that are coming up. So I don't know if it's a case where it's ego. I don't know if it's a case where I am scared of being replaced, inverted commas. But it's interesting because even when you look outside of the Caribbean, you have bigger artists who probably would do things with younger artists to bring relevance, or of course, show all right, I still got it.
No, Lyric doing that though.
Lyric
has been doing that with his online shows.
I have not been viewing them, so I really don't know.
Even before that, even though This Is Rick, he been putting spotlight on the up and coming artists.
Right. Okay.
Lyric is one of the ones that actually pushing, and even with the dancehall, he been big behind artists like Chief Din, and SK.
Do you think? Do you think that is no? Do you think he has started to do that because no Beijing dancehall and different stuff has become popular?
Nah, he was doing it before.
Okay.
He's doing it before soca.
Okay. Because the only, and this is just what I've seen, the only people I really remember Lorette pushing was when you had Hyper Kids. Right?
Yeah,
outside of that, I really, so I mean, you could identify and show me who else, but I just saying what I've seen. Right? I remember there was even some argument with some other artists stating that the older artists don't get in the blight, they need to bow the competitions, etc., and let others win. I mean, I don't agree with that, because at the end of the day, I think steel sharpens steel. You know what I'm saying? So that's just it. But I really personally think that a lot of artists here need to, for lack of better words, pull some of the other artists' hands. Right?
I agree. There's a certain level of artists that made it in Barbados soca. And you never really see them bringing up the next generation. They stuck to their guns and cemented themselves as classics, legends, but then they continue to eat their food and left a lot of people behind.
Right.
But that's why the dancehall movement now. They're moving as a group.
Yeah, I just think that's the, I don't even know if to say that. Because I think like when I look at the culture in Jamaica, right, in terms of dancehall, I think that's just generally the culture, right? Where you got, let me say, you had Cartel, and Cartel had few other people with him, right? That he would be bringing up. And then you had Bounty, same thing exactly that he would have been doing. So I think that's just generally culture of dancehall, right? And then when we look at Trinidad and how they then have brought their own spin on dancehall and stuff, they still got a team. So everybody, when it comes to dancehall, it just seems like that's generally a collective movement,
Yeah.
right? But when it comes to soca or any other thing, it's always that like, yeah,
It's also the competition in soca, because people get trained that at the end of crop over, they can be a soca monarch,
right?
People win thousands and thousands of dollars and a car. So the competition aspect definitely made people distance themselves from other people to make sure that they win. But I think that also detracted from genre growing,
right?
Because instead of people focusing on making the best soca, they're making songs specifically to win.
Right.
Are they doing things specifically to win? This one competition at one point a year, instead of making a song that could be a hit all year long,
right?
Because they know if they do X, Y, and Z, they can really get points, as opposed to making classic music.
It's faded, baby.